Hello and welcome to the Hispanic Patriot podcast, everybody. A weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location here in the heart of the great state of Colorado. My name is Nicholas Rosso, and without further ado, I present to you all our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriots and welcome back, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, fellow patriots across America and around the world. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah,
First show
made
of the
it to
year.
2026. How about that? And
People said it couldn't be done.
so we have a lot to get to tonight. We have a special guest tonight, our friend of the show, Mr. Greg Lopez, who is the governor or candidate for governor in Colorado. So he will be on joining us here in a few minutes. But first, we begin with the story of the day, and that is welcome to the Hispanic Patriot podcast, where we cut through the noise and get to the heart of the issues shaking America today.
The whole truth. We speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God.
Today we need to talk about another controversy that's coming from the left and involving our brave men and women of ICE. What happened in Minnesota involving an ICE agent and a protester, aka domestic terrorist, is of course being exploited, not explained. And that should concern every American who still believes in law, order, and due process. So get ready for George Floyd 2.0. Within hours of the justified shooting, the narrative was set. ICE is guilty. Immigration enforcement is evil. And the facts are irrelevant. That's basically where we're at, folks. That reflexive outrage tells you all you need to know about what is going on in today's political climate. Let's state the obvious, okay?
As we often must do.
Right. ICE agents are operating under lawful authority in volatile, confrontational environments, and these are not academic debates.
Ain't picnics out there.
These are real world operations where protesters themselves deliberately insert themselves into federal enforcement activities and escalate tensions and attempt to obstruct officers in the performance of their duties. So what happened basically is when we know that there was a ICE agent that killed an intruder, basically. I call them domestic terrorists because I'm calling it like it is. But when a firearm is discharged, it is not ideology. It is a perceived threat. None of you out there, unless you've been a law enforcement officer, can even comprehend these decisions that are made in microseconds, not in press conferences or social media threats. An ICE agent does not surrender their right to self-defense simply because someone claims the title of protester. Let's get one thing straight. Every use of force should be investigated. Accountability matters, but so does due process for law enforcement too. We cannot demand instant condemnation of officers while excusing reckless behavior that puts everyone at risk. These people, I use that term pejoratively, these are paid protesters. Let's get that right off the top, okay? These are not just normal people going out. These are paid protesters. What we're seeing is a coordinated effort to delegitimize immigration enforcement by criminalizing the people tasked with carrying it out, that's not compassion. That's chaos. And chaos hurts working class communities, legal immigrants, and law-abiding Hispanics the most. So let's make that very clear. And it's not just Hispanics. Of course, there are other nationalities, illegal immigrants. You know, look, you can oppose immigration laws. You can protest policy, but you do not get to manufacture confrontations and then pretend federal agents must absorb the unlimited danger to satisfy political activists. Here on the Hispanic Patriot podcast, we stand for legal immigration. We stand for public safety and the rule of law. So while we regret, the loss of life anywhere, we reject mob justice. We reject political violence, and we stand with the men and women enforcing the laws of this nation until the facts say otherwise. Other order, basically order matters, due process matters, and ICE agents deserve the same presumption of innocence and professionalism as any other law enforcement agency in America. So God bless our law enforcement, federal, state, and local. And that's your memo for tonight. So
Absolutely.
Let's not sugarcoat this thing, but we're going to be talking more in depth about this as.
Yeah, we want to be sure with you folks as we want to always have the facts. So, of course, a lot of stuff is coming out. There's a lot of emotion about this case, to say the least. And, of course, in our community, very, very strong feelings because, to be honest, folks, I mean, this was not I'm just going to say it plainly, this was not a Hispanic person that was shot dead. This was a white woman from Colorado who, a lot of people, make the joke on the show before that ICE, has a nickname, Mexicans Against Illegal Immigration, because there's just so many Hispanics in ICE. So, when people have to understand on the left, when you attack ICE, you're attacking a lot of Hispanics. There are so many Hispanics that work for ICE, and you're attacking them when you attack ICE as a whole, okay? That's something that we at Hispanic Patriot Podcast want everyone to understand. And God be with the family of the person who was killed. But honestly, I wish this person cared more about their family than they did making a manufactured political point. What were the police supposed to do? Just let her drive off and have a high-speed pursuit, potentially hurting innocent people? No. This is an unfortunate situation, but when you choose to do very, very crazy things can happen to you.
Yeah, let's not discount the fact that she did try to run over the ICE agent.
And whether it was fear, because some people are saying, oh, well, she was afraid for her life. It's like, okay, number one, when you're afraid for your life, it doesn't legally let you take somebody else's life, okay? Fear response and self-defense are two different things. And the last thing that I will say about this, on a personal note, but also a political note, but also a moral note, a lot of people in my generation are saying the same thing. We will care about this woman that was killed by ICE when you guys care about Charlie Kirk. When you guys apologize for laughing and dancing at the death and murder of our friend, we will remember we will remember that for the rest of our lives. I'm sorry about that. I'm kind of not sorry. We will remember how you guys acted about Charlie Kirk on the far left, the radical left, for the rest of our lives. That's just what's going to happen. You have to accept it and do with it what you will. We might not care in the future.
All right. We're going to transition into our topic or our main guest for tonight, which is Mr. Greg Lopez, who will be joining us shortly.
Who is a recent news topic in of himself. So we're very happy to bring you that. And we just ask you, before we move on to that segment, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a like on the video. And please check out our backlog of all the great interviews that we've had. You will literally not find this kind of content anywhere else. We have a lot of insider track, and we want to share it with you.
Yep. And every like helps others see our content. And if you're so moved, there's a QR code right up here on the upper left-hand side of the screen, and you can donate there and help us grow our podcast.
Yes, we
So,
appreciate that.
before we welcome Mr. Lopez, we're going to play, for those of you that have not heard the news, unless you've been living under a rock, but
We would not blame you if you did, to be honest. But we
those-
are here to help you get under the rock.
yes, get out from
Out
under.
from under the rock. And you know, we do multiple services. You know what I mean? We do drywall and we do fireproofing.
So we're going to play the video that he put out that explained what he was up to.
Before I say anything else, I want to speak to you, not as a candidate, but as a husband, a father, a small business owner, and someone who has spent a lifetime trying to do the right thing, even when it was hard. My governing values are simple: people over politics and do no harm. I believe that if you work hard and play by the rules, society should make sure you can support yourself and your family. I have something important to share with you today. A decision rooted in honesty, reflection, and respect for the people of this state. Today I'm choosing a road that is uncertain. A road without party protection, without a political safety net. But leadership has never been about taking the easy road. It's about taking the right one. I didn't grow up dreaming of politics. I grew up believing in responsibility, in service, and in showing up for people, especially when they needed help and no one else was listening. That belief led me to public service, and in 1992, to be an elected mayor as a Democrat. My parents believed Democrats stood up for working families and people who needed a voice. And I believed that too. But something happened while I was in office. Students would ask me, "What party are you and why?" At first, my answer was simple: because my parents are. One day, that answer didn't sit right with me. Leadership deserves a better answer than inheritance. And our children deserve leaders who think for themselves. So I went home and sat at my kitchen table with my wife, Lisa, and I read, I studied, I listened. For months, I studied both parties, not the slogans, but the values. And I realized I didn't fit into my parents' box. I believed in personal responsibility and compassion, strong communities, and limited government, faith, family, hard work, and helping people stand back up, not trapping them in dependency. That led me to switch parties midterm. And I became a Republican because honesty mattered more than comfort. I stayed and fought from within. But today, something deeper has become clear. The system itself is broken. Both parties raise money better than they solve problems. They divide better than they listen. I've seen good projects stall for years because agencies answer to politics instead of people. Permits delayed, costs doubled, and families priced out, while politicians trade press releases instead of fixing the problem. Meanwhile, everyday Coloradans pay the price. Families feel squeezed. Small businesses feel buried. Parents feel ignored. Rural communities feel forgotten. Urban communities are promised help that never truly arrives. And the fastest growing group in our state, unaffiliated voters, feel politically homeless. I want you to know, I see you, because today I am one of you. On December 30th, 2025, my wife Lisa and I changed our party affiliation to unaffiliated. Not because it was convenient, not because it was safe, but because it was honest. I'm not changing my values. I'm staying true to who I've always been. I'm simply changing who I answer to. Why now? Because unaffiliated voters are now the largest voice in Colorado. And the problems we face won't wait for another cycle of partisan excuses. This means I won't appear in a primary ballot. I won't have party machines behind me. I will have to earn every ounce of trust directly from you. And I'm willing to do that. And it's a little bit scary. Colorado doesn't need another politician who answers to party bosses or national talking points. Colorado needs a governor who wakes up every day asking one question: what actually works for the people of this state? I believe in public safety, affordable living, strong schools, thriving small businesses, and a government that remembers who it works for. Those aren't Democrat values or Republican values. They are Colorado values. This campaign isn't about left versus right. It's about people versus a system that has forgotten them. I'm not running to divide Colorado. I'm running to unite it. Colorado is bigger than any party, and our future is worth fighting for. Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God bless the great state of Colorado.
And now, folks, you are here for the man himself.
Mr. Greg Lopez, in his own words. Let's welcome in Greg to the show. Hello, Greg.
Hey.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
We got you. All right.
Great to
Welcome
see you
to
again.
the show.
You bet.
And
Thanks
we
for
just
having me.
played, as you saw, we just played your video because we wanted to update the audience with the topic of the show.
Sure.
And so welcome to the show. You've been here before. The last time as a Republican and now as an unaffiliated. So
That's right.
To
we're
show
going to
all of
dive
our
in.
viewers, the Hispanic Patriot podcast truly is a podcast for everyone.
Yes. We're going to dive in because we want to get as much of the information as we can. But before we do that, we're going to give you an opportunity to just make a short opening statement to the audience so that you can explain for me in your own words. So you entered the governor's race as a Republican and are now running as unaffiliated. In plain terms, for Colorado voters, what changed?
Well, my values have not changed. I'm still the same person I've always been. What's changed is that who do I answer to? As I mentioned in the video, the system is broken. And we have 50% of the voters in Colorado don't belong to a single party. They believe that they're politically homeless. Look, I'm looking to be the governor of this great state. And my job is to listen to everyone, to make life better for everyone in the state, whether they vote for me or not. And so I decided that I didn't need to participate in the Republican primary process, that I would go directly to the general election. This is not, like I said, this is not easy. This is the hardest way that a candidate can get onto the ballot. But I get to take my message directly to the people.
All right. We're gonna get into more details. I don't want to jump too far ahead. I just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to explain to the audience your reasoning for the move. So we've gotten a lot of information, or rather communication, from some of our listeners and fans that basically want to know certain things. So
Sure.
we're going to try to get some of their questions in. Obviously, we won't get everything in, but we will get some of the more pertinent ones. But
Okay.
one of the key issues to this thing is timing and motive. Okay, so why did this decision occur midstream rather than before you filed for office?
I don't know that I would say it happened during midstream. Look, as I traveled the state, I listened to ranchers and farmers. And I also evaluated, what is happening on in here in Colorado. Look, I think we all can agree that right now both parties are broken internally. They're struggling, not only financially, but with their processes. And now I get to take my vote, my voice directly to the general election.
Okay. Was this switch driven by party dynamics, polling, fundraising, or ideology?
No, this is a governance decision. This is not an ideology decision. You know, I'm going to wake up every day as a governor asking myself, what is in the best interest of the people? What actually works? That's what I'm looking to do.
And did you consult with any initial supporters before making the switch public?
Of course, you know, any leader reaches out to their advisors, to people, to talk to them. So I did what any professional CEO would do, and that's reach out and talk to people.
Okay.
Very
Nick?
nice. Very nice. Well, Greg, it's great to have you on the show again. We really loved your last interview. It was fantastic. And just thank you for coming on. And for all of you folks watching, please, if you take the moment to leave a like and subscribe, we would very much appreciate it. It helps us bring awesome interviews like the one you're seeing right now. So, Greg, there is, especially among young people, sort of a little secret with the unaffiliates that I wanted to ask about. A lot of young people, especially I know and have asked questions with and everything, they are unaffiliated not necessarily because they are more neutral or more in the middle, but because they feel that both parties, for whatever ideology they believe in, don't go far enough. And I really have seen your campaign as a very populist-driven campaign from the independent perspective. I've seen you in your strategy go straight to the people, and not in a bad way, but not really pay much attention to the party bigwigs. That's something that I've seen a lot in your campaign. And so when you talk about having a consistent strategy, that's sort of what I see. And that's what I wanted to ask you, because I don't want to just take it from me. Was that something that happened to you on the campaign trail? Did you feel more connected to those homeless voters? And if so, what do you say, especially to those young unaffiliated voters who left the party not because of lack of compromise, but because of lack of strength in their party?
You know, as you know, my governor philosophy is simple: putting people over politics and doing no harm. And so, yes, you know, the younger generation has decided that they don't like either party. They don't like the name calling and the finger pointing. They want a problem solver. You know, and I think what they're looking for is someone that can actually solve the issues, to think about what they need: affordability, be able to afford a home, you know, to those types of things that improve their quality of life. So that played a huge role in my decision.
You know, I sense that from you, actually, from your video. It really seems like, Greg, and you could tell our audience, you are not a man who likes to be put in a box. Would we be able to say that? Do you think that's a driving force of this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I'm a problem solver. You know, when there's a will, there's a way. I'm looking to be the next governor of Colorado. That's the goal, is to help every single family across this state. And so that's why I'm going to the general election and allowing the people to really have a choice between a Republican, a Democrat, or an unaffiliated candidate.
That's amazing. And so this will be my last question before I kick it back to Hugo for a bit. So that means that, Greg, you have been in Colorado a Democrat, a Republican, and now you hope to be an unaffiliated or elected official. And during our last interview, we talked about this, that you said, and this really stuck in my mind, that you had never gotten the chance, despite your runs, to actually get to the general election. You were either stuck in the Republican primary or, that's where you were. So I wanted to ask, is that part of the motivation? Because you believe that Coloradans deserve to have the chance to elect Greg Lopez, not, as just constrained by party, but also constrained by the system we have in Colorado, which we've talked many times on the show, is very tightly controlled by various economic cartels and other things. Do you think you will have the strength as an independent to break those cartels and those forces, which obviously will be much strongly more arrayed against you without the party protection.
Yes. You have to remember in 2022, when I was running in the primary against Heidi Ganahl, the Democrat Party spent $2 million against me in the primary.
A fact that very few people remember, I notice.
Yeah. And if you remember the blueprint, I would urge everybody, if you got that book, go to page 227. And it talks about how their goal is to take out the strongest candidates in the Republican Party in the primary. And they succeeded. I missed going to the general election by 49,000 votes. And unfortunately, our candidate lost by 485,000 votes. And so now they can't stop me in a primary because I don't have a primary. I'm going straight to the general. And I allow the people to decide what type of candidate and what type of governor do they want to see take the helm of this great state.
So very Caesarean, I have to say. But no, Hugo, let's kick it back to you, my friend.
All right. So a couple of things. I'm going to switch over to a couple of the listener questions that they came in. Number one, do you believe that there's going to be a state assembly for the Republican Party?
You know what? I think everybody is asking that question. And I think everybody doesn't have an answer. Even as last night when I was at the Park of Conservatives, Mark Hampton got up and said, we're not sure whether there will be a state assembly. So I don't know. He mentioned that there was a deadline, which is January 15th. So I think we all have to sit back and just watch and see what the leadership does.
That's next week. Yep. So, segue to that question is one of the listeners wanted to know, were you afraid that you would not get onto the ballot through the Republican Party, either through assembly or petition? And did that drive your decision to go straight to the general election?
No.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
ahead.
No, I wasn't afraid.
The segue to that one is, how do you plan to get 8,000 signatures, 1,000 in each of the 8 districts? What is your game plan to do that? Because that's not cheap.
Well, okay. So, no, I wasn't afraid. Look, I've gone to the state assembly twice. The first time I made the state assembly, the primary ballot, I wasn't supposed to even be on the ballot because I was a newcomer. In 2022, I got top line. I was the top line for the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
In this segment, again, in this turnaround, like I said, no one knows what's going to happen, whether the state Republican Party is going to have an assembly or not. But I didn't forget that the Democrats spent $2 million against me in the primary because they really didn't want me to go to the general. That's not going to change. That would not change their strategy if I was in the primary again. And so I took away that possibility of them keeping me from going to the general election. So that's why I did what I did.
All right. So another question from a listener.
Before I forget, because I want to make sure I answer all your questions, because I don't want anybody to say, he's not answering questions. He's avoiding questions. I think the last part of your question was, how am I going to get 1,000 signatures from each one of the 8 congressional districts?
Correct.
And it's interesting because every Republican candidate right now or Democrat that's looking to petition onto the ballot, they have to get 1,500 signatures. Correct. And they can only get signatures from their party. So a Republican can only get signatures from a Republican. I, on the other hand, a Democrat, a Republican, and an unaffiliated voter can sign my petition. And just like everybody else, we do have an infrastructure of volunteers. My supporters have not gone away. because they weren't supporting me because I had an R next to my name. They were supporting me and continue to support me because of my character, my values, and my belief.
So are you saying you haven't lost any support as a result of your decision?
No, look, I was expecting some people to be hurt, to be confused, but I haven't lost the support that a lot of people think that I have. And I understand why people are feeling the way they are. My goal is to be the next governor of Colorado, and I'm going to do everything I can to achieve that.
Okay. All right. So that kind of gives an answer to a couple of those. But one of the things that has come up in my conversations with some folks is trust and accountability. And that boils down to, what do you say to Republican voters who feel betrayed by this switch?
Well, I will tell them that, you know what? I'm going to earn their trust and all the unaffiliated voters because I have not betrayed them. They want a conservative governor. I think every Republican wants a conservative governor. That's who I am. I haven't changed my values. And if they really need to ask themselves, how badly do they want a conservative in the governor's office? Do they want it bad enough that they will vote for someone regardless of whether they have an R or a U? Because they know I'm conservative. I've been conservative for the last 30 years, and my values haven't changed.
Well, that brings up a very important question, I believe, that we can kind of ask here, which is that a lot of concern has been raised as to the potential spoiler effect. And I think that's something that our audience is really, really itching to know about, because that was the first thing that people talked about, at least in circles that I was around. It's like, well, won't this mean that people who will vote for the Republican candidate will vote for the conservative independent candidate and we'll just get a Democrat? That is a concern. So I'd ask you to address that concern. And also, is your focus, therefore, going to be to take Democrat votes away from the crazy people who want to spend all our money and such?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, if a party loses because people...
Yep.
Bad timing. That's quite all right. I'm sure it'll be fine in a moment.
Somebody got zapped.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll get this back on in just a second.
All right. We lost him temporarily. Let's see if we can get him back on. But
that's an important question, but too. No, we got it.
Well, for the Republican Party.
There we go. Sorry, Greg. We just need you to.
Yeah. Go ahead and repeat that because you went off the air here.
That's okay. That's okay. Probably the snow we're having, folks.
Right. So, like I was saying, look, if a party loses because voters choose something different, that's not splitting the vote. That's democracy. I'm going to take more votes away from the Democrat Party than I am from the Republican Party.
That is a very strong statement right there, my friend. Very strong.
The only issue I have with that is the use of the word democracy. I hate it.
Well, that's a big question, Greg. It's like, just want to ask this question because many young people these days, that's how they do. I've often made this joke, is if there were no Democrats, there would still be a Democrat Party apparatus. But if there was no Republican Party apparatus, there'd be a lot more Republicans. So I'd ask you, do you still consider yourself a Republican with a small r? Do you believe in the Republic? And is that still a centerpiece of your values, is La Repubblica?
Look, I don't focus on labels. I focus on what I believe, what my values are. Look, today we should not be judging people by their party affiliation. We should be judging people by the content of their character. You've heard that before with Martin Luther King, that we need to focus on the content of the character of a person. And so that's why I will win a lot more votes from the Democrat Party than I will from the Republicans. And the unaffiliated voters that are going to vote for me, they wouldn't vote for a Republican candidate anyway. So I'm not taking votes away. I'm giving people an opportunity to form a new coalition. a coalition of frustrated Republicans that aren't heard, unaffiliated voters that feel that they're politically homeless, and Democrats that are not happy with the direction that the state is going.
Very nice. So then I have to ask you that pointed question. What is your strategy to win those Democrats specifically?
Well, my strategy is to keep doing what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I continuously go to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce meetings. I continuously go to meetings where the Black community is gathering. They know me. They've always known me. Remember, I'm the former director of the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I used to sit on the Martin Luther King Advisory Committee. I'm no stranger to that community. They've told me clearly, Greg, we don't believe your party will ever give you the nomination. But if they do, the Democrats are in trouble because we're going to vote for you because we know who you are. We know your character. And we know that you will do the best that you can to help all of us, not just some of us.
Okay.
It is rhetoric the Democrats love, I will say that.
So basically, if I want to dissect that, what you just said, or what you just told unaffiliated voters is the ones that you claim would never vote for a Republican, that you're really a Republican in disguise, and you're running as an unaffiliated.
No, that's not what I said, Hugo. You're hearing what you want to hear. That is not what I said. You know better than that.
Go ahead, correct me then.
Well, the record speaks for itself. You know what? It's not about the labels. This is what unaffiliated voters don't like, is this rhetoric between a Democrat and a Republican. They're looking for someone that understands the challenges that they face. And that's who I am. So just because I don't have an R anymore, you're trying to make it sound like, oh, I'm in disguise. That's not true. You know that. You know?
That's not me saying that, by the way. That came in from a listener.
Well, you didn't say that in the beginning.
I was about to say, Hugo, is that post
this was a listener.
But you know what, Greg? I want to say, go ahead, Hugo.
There's a segue to this question, and that is, let's assume you win the election and become governor, and you are a unaffiliated governor. How do you propose to work with a legislature that is either R or D? Because wouldn't they just ignore you because you're neither one?
No. See, this is the fallacy of what you just said. It's actually the opposite. Because I get to work with everybody. And I get to fight against those that aren't doing the right thing for the state of Colorado. And so I have the opportunity as an unaffiliated to listen to both sides, to evaluate each suggestion. I don't care whether the solution comes from a Democrat or a Republican. If it works for the people of Colorado, we're going to move forward with that. I'm about solving problems, not playing politics. That's why unaffiliates don't like the political system that we have today. And I'm about making sure that we move forward, not backwards.
This is true, but the reality is that this state is under the control of Democrats, far left Democrats, who have basically decimated this state financially, culturally, and socially. So how are we going to have a unaffiliated governor move the needle, assuming, let's just say, that we didn't make much inroads with the legislature body, and the Democrats keep control? Why are they going to listen to you when these people have proven to be far leftist in their ideology and their governing patterns? How do you propose to change that dynamic?
Oh yeah, it just cut out for a second. We're all good. Add it again. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're back.
It's snowfall, folks. We apologize for that. But yes, Greg, please go right ahead.
Well, I tell you, I live out in the country, so my squirrels out here might not be cleaning the antenna good enough.
You got to dock his pay for that one.
You need to call Elon and get Starlink, bro.
But please, Greg, go right ahead.
Well, no, if I followed the path that you were going down, Hugo, look, if there's one thing that I'm known for, and that is working with others, building relationships. Look, when I was in Congress, a lot of people liked talking to me because they didn't know whether I was a Republican or a Democrat. They just knew I was a new kid in town. And so I was able to visit with them and talk to them about some of the issues that we were facing. Look, the only way we're going to save this state is by working together. I'm not about dividing Colorado. I'm about uniting Colorado. Is it going to be easy? Only time will tell. But ultimately, I think every elected official wants to do the best things for this state. I've told you this before, and I just went recently to see it again. I would encourage both of you. You go to the Denver Public Library. Go to the 7th floor. And go look at the table of the Summit of Eight, where the 8 heads of state and sat down and talked about the future of this world. What I love about that table is that it's round. It has no left side and it has no right side. We will be using that table and we will be sitting down and talking about what is in the best interest of the people of this great state, not what is in the best interest of any political narrative. People are done with that here in Colorado. The Democrats do not control elections. Republicans don't control elections. That two-party system no longer works. We have a 3-block voting system here in Colorado. 50% of the voters, the active voters, are unaffiliated. 25% are Democrat, and 23% are Republican.
Okay, you're talking about the registration.
No, these are active voters, not registered voters. There was just a survey released earlier last month. Dick Wadhams has been writing about it. It was talked at the Dan Caplis show. These are actual active voters that are voting in every election.
That's very fascinating, actually, because among us young people, we do actually notice a large confluence where, you'll get that exact reaction of, oh, you were a Democrat, you were a Republican, I had no idea. The way you were talking, I had no idea. So there very, very much is a confluence. And I think, Greg, that you've been very clear here that you want to kind of be an icebreaker through that political system. But as a student of history, I wanted to ask you a question that I can't help but think about.
Sure.
I made partially in jest at the beginning. I say, you're going to have to be very Caesarian, for that to be the case. But I think that I kind of hit the nail on the head, because I believe, and I've seen in history, that the reason that politicians typically don't follow this path is because it's extremely hard. And it's extremely hard not just because you have less allies, but you have not enemies. I think me and you could agree that we don't want to call our political opponents enemies, but they are obstacles to what we are trying to do, whether to protect their own economic interests or whatever have you. So what I wanted to ask you very seriously, Greg, are you willing to get more locked in, as we young people say, more sharp, and maybe even potentially ruthless in your political dealings and the way you are to protect the people? Because honestly, Greg, I've seen a lot of people in my generation lose hope because we feel like our politicians are throwing us to the wolves and not standing in front of us, not standing in the way of the interests that want to attack us. So a lot of people see you as a nice guy, and it's great to be a nice guy, but I want to ask you, with this path of difficulty you're on, are you willing to go harder and stronger? Will we see dark Greg Lopez?
No. Look, what you'll see is strong leadership. What you will see is someone standing in the gap and fighting for what is right, standing for the values that will make this state better for all of us. Yes, the younger generation has a lot of energy, and I embrace that. But just like you in the youth, you also have age. We must mix this together.
Agreed.
Age and energy is what's going to make this work.
That's why we are the Boomer and the Millennial here on the Hispanic Patriot podcast, Greg. You know that.
Yeah. But yes, you will see. Once we know who wins the primary in June on both sides, that's really when the real debates start. And yes, I'm going to stand my ground because I know how both sides operate, and I know exactly what the people of Colorado want, and they want a problem solver. Someone that'll get a bloody nose, a busted lip, a black eye for the right reasons. I'm not playing politics. I don't have to answer to any political bosses. I don't have to answer to anybody in Washington. I answer to the people of this state.
Very nice.
So while we've been talking, I got a message from one of the listeners who is saying that you didn't really answer the question about how you're going to gather those signatures. Meaning, you explained that all three factions could sign for you, but they want to know, how are you going to gather those signatures? Because
Are they wanting to volunteer to carry the petitions for me?
Look at this hard worker
well,
over here.
I mean,
Man.
I
He's
think
already hustling.
we know the process. I mean, typically.
Well, Hugo, I did answer the question.
So I think we said you said that. Please.
Wait.
Right.
Let me finish the
Right.
point on there, because as it is well known, that at least well reported, that it takes about $20 for each signature gathered. So if I do the math quickly, you're talking about 8 times 20, $160,000 if you had to gather all of those. And let's assume that you've got a percentage of those already in the bag, so to speak, and they're not going to cost $20 each, but a lot of them will cost $20 each. So you have to have a contingency of signature gatherers that are either paid or unpaid. And so they want to know, do you have that game plan in place? And what is your deadline for gathering those signatures?
Well, first of all, I don't know where people get this $20 per signature.
I've seen that reported.
Well, I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who's reporting it, because
I've read it several times. Yeah,
that's not a number I'm getting from companies. So when I talk to companies, that's not the number I'm getting. However,
what are you getting?
Protect Kids Colorado has to get over 135,000 votes, signatures.
Mm-hmm.
It's all volunteer. I got 2 complete packets for each one of those issues myself. So you just talk to people. I don't know why people think money is the answer. I will always be outspent. We all know Republicans are going to get outspent. But I can tell you this, no one has ever outworked me.
Wait, you're not a Republican.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We know.
Go right ahead.
Right? The number knows, right? So even as an unaffiliated, right? You just said, we said it earlier. I don't have a political machine behind me. I don't have an infrastructure behind me. And I don't have those political dollars behind me. What I have is individuals. What I have is individuals that want to see something different. And so I will, just like everyone else, have volunteers going out there talking to people, gathering signatures. It's not that difficult. I don't know why everybody feels that this is a huge expenditure. It's not. Look, you have to remember, when I ran in 2022, I got 49% of the vote. And I spent $160,000. It cost me 52 cents a vote. It's not about the money. It's about working hard, being out there, talking to people, and connecting. I can assure you, even Dick Wadham said today, he will be on the ballot.
Awesome.
There it is.
But here's the other point to that, and that is that it's also reported that approximately 60 to 65% of unaffiliated voters actually vote for Democrats. So, what is your strategy to gather? You're going to need, if you do the math, you're going to need to gather at least 15 to 20% of those and climb the ladder with the unaffiliateds and end up with, and this is assuming no unaffiliated votes for any other Republican or Democrat. How are you going to garner enough unaffiliated votes to add to whatever Republican votes you may get? And you said you were going to get some Democrat votes. What is your math in that perspective?
The path to victory, if you will.
The
Yeah,
path to
you know what?
victory.
I tell you, I didn't dream this up overnight. I'm looking to be the next governor of this great state. I will get 45% of the unaffiliated vote. I will get 30% of the Republican vote. And I will get 20% of the Democrat vote. Those are the numbers. I'm not going to win by huge margins. I will win by 4 to 6 points. This is going to be a very close race. But I will tell you, those are the numbers. And one of the problems that the Republican Party has that I've never had is messaging, is being able to connect with voters, being able to articulate, to be compassionate, to be fair, not to talk about numbers and the economy and the budget. That's important. Of course it's important. But we need to be able to connect with those single moms, those small business owners that are having to stay late and they're having to pay more on fees and regulations than ever before. We got to connect with the seniors that are struggling because of gentrification and the property taxes. That's what I talk about, the people and the challenges.
Okay.
And that is what Democrats and Republicans and affiliates want to hear.
Okay. Before I forget, because this is the Hispanic Patriot podcast, so where do the Hispanic voters fall? Where do the Hispanic voters fall into your strategy?
What do you mean, where do they fall in my strategy?
Well,
I just
in
told
the
you
numbers,
20%.
what percentage of the Hispanic vote do you project you need to get in your total numbers?
You know, the interesting thing about the Hispanic vote, most of them don't vote.
Well, that's true.
Most of them don't vote because they don't see anybody that cares about them.
At least 50% of them, yeah.
That connects with them, that understands their way of life, that understands their culture. So the fact that I am going to be on the general election and my last name is Lopez, there is going to be a huge upswell of voters that are Hispanic, along with the unaffiliated voters, because now they're going to be more energized that there is a voice. This is human nature.
Very true.
And we can only wait to see what happens in November.
That is very true, Greg. That is human nature to go with the strong personality. And that's why I brought it up before. It's like that Caesarean aspect of, I think that, starting from a young person, I can absolutely, I came into this show very skeptical, honestly, very skeptical. But, after listening, I really understand where you're coming from, Greg. But I feel that the linchpin is something that people, both our culture and people who are like us, sometimes it takes difficulty to understand this point.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like your strategy, the linchpin, is your strength, your personal character. Because like you said, you don't have a party to fluff up your personal character. And Greg, I've always seen you as a humble person. So that is my biggest concern as someone interested in potentially supporting this, or as somebody especially young would be interested in. Are you a strong enough character? Are you willing to not lose your humility, but be strong enough to say, I am the guy who can do this. I'm the only person who could do this. Do you have that level in your character? And are you willing to show it to all those people that need to see it?
Yes, of course. Look, I grew up with this little saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Very nice.
Yep. Heard that. We say that in Texas a lot.
I am from Texas.
Yes.
I bet the
Yes,
dogs
you
are bigger in Texas.
All right. Well, I think we've got a good picture. I mean, I learned a couple things tonight.
I love the confidence. I'm not going to lie about that right now. I have to love the confidence. You can't not love that.
Well, you got to have the confidence if you're going to do what Greg has done. So, I mean, we want to continue our conversation with you. We want to watch your campaign. We're going to be watching some other campaigns as well. We had hoped to do some forums or debates. Unfortunately, ours will be with Democrats and Republicans. Actually, with Republicans, and if we can get you into a forum, is that something you're interested in?
Of course. Look, I'm
Okay.
here for the people. I'm like you. I get to sit up in the stands and watch to see what happens on the Democrat side, what happens on the Republican side.
Yeah.
But yes, once we know who is going to go into the general election or before, I'll go anywhere anybody invites me. Hugo, it's interesting you should bring up that because right now I'm being disinvited from a lot of places. Not because of who I am,
I saw
but
that.
because I'm no longer have an R.
Yep.
And that's okay. You know what?
But those were Republican functions, so
I've been treated poorly before. That's okay with me.
We're all used to that. I will say that. That's a lot of reason that brings us together politically. Honestly, I will say that is we're tired of being looked down upon and ignored, and that's something Hispanic Patriot Podcast will never do to our beloved audience.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear all the voices.
Always.
Good.
I'm not tied down to one side now. As my current position in the party, I am an official in the party, so I can't take sides. I can't promote. I can't endorse. But I have my own internal preferences about what's going on and what may be coming down the pike here. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Let me ask you a question, if I may.
Of course.
Hugo, will the Republicans be able to have and hold a state assembly?
I'm a betting man, and if I had to bet today, I'd say no.
Well, I hope they do.
Yes,
but
we really
I understand your sentiment.
Yep. I mean, I hope they do too. But I'm just saying, right now it doesn't look good, and we'll see what happens.
What does that mean? What does that mean to the candidates?
Well, it's not organized. That's the thing. It's they didn't. An assembly takes 8 to 12 months to plan, and this is January the 8th.
So, Greg, was what
My
you're
son's
trying?
birthday.
Oh, that's beautiful. Greg, is what you're trying to say is we will all be unaffiliates pretty soon if things continue as if things continue as they go.
Never.
I think what we all agree is, look, we want to save this state. We definitely want to save it, roll back.
That we can agree on.
Right? We know what it feels like to live under a single party rule for the last 7 years. And none of our lives is any better. Our lives were better 7 years ago than they were today.
And that's a shame. And our founders have warned us against parties before. So with that being said, Hugo, you may take it away.
Yep. So we'll give you a brief closing statement, and then we got to take off because we're up against the clock.
Folks, look, I didn't do this for convenience. I didn't do this because this is easy. Like I said, this is the hardest path that any candidate can go through to become the next governor. But I ask you to join me, not as a partisan, not someone with a label, but as a neighbor. Join me in this path because Colorado is bigger than any party. In our future, it's worth fighting for. Go to my website, greglopez.co, greglopez.co. Give a small contribution. It all helps.
All right. Thank you. This has been Greg Lopez, unaffiliated candidate for governor of the great state of Colorado. Greg,
don't forget to call me congressman next time there, Hugo.
That's a good point.
Congressman. Yes. All right. Have a good one. Thanks.
Take care, Greg. Always happy to have you. Look forward to next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios, amigo.
Adios. Hasta
Man,
luego.
that was an exciting interview, guys. That was
That-
exciting.
That was. And
And you will see a lot more of this, too.
So we got to tune out, and let's look forward to next week when we will be talking about the Venezuela situation.
Yes.
With, who happens to be a journalist. So
Oh, you guys will not want to miss that. You really
Jesus
will not.
Sanchez will be with us next week.
So
Thank
much
you.
great Hispanic news on Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
And good night, folks. We thank you for tuning in tonight.
Yes, God bless America. Thank you so much.